3 days before I graduated college, I realized that I didn't really like my art. And no, I'm not graduating with an art degree, by the way. So this terrifying adult deadline and the fact that I'm incredibly impatient made it so that I decided to participate in a 30-day portrait art challenge. And today, I'm going to tell you how it went, what I learned, and why I think you should do it too. A little bit of an overview of the challenge. I decided to draw a digital portrait every day for 30 days, and I would choose a different artist each day, more or less, to study and learn something from. This wasn't like a draw this in your style sort of challenge. It was more like, what about this piece do I love and how can I bring it into my own art? You know what they say, good artists copy, great artists steal, and
I tried to steal a lot during this challenge.
In a very ethical way, of course. So, what helped me get through this challenge, if you're thinking of doing it too? Honestly, on the surface, it doesn't really sound that bad. Like, when I first thought about doing this, I was like, sure, 30 portraits for 30 days, like, it's just a drawing a day, I can do that. And keep in mind, before this, I was incredibly busy with college. I had extracurriculars, I held a part-time job, and I was a full-time student, so it was a lot to juggle, and I just couldn't really focus on my passions as much. However, I had finished a lot of this stuff, and so, or was close to finishing a lot of it. I was like, let's just do this challenge. Like, why not? 30 days before I graduate, like, let's see how good I can get. There were some things that definitely helped me get through this challenge. One of the first ones, one of the biggest assets that I used, and I think you should use as well, is saving the art that you like of other people's. So this could be like on Pinterest, that's what I use, which it's kind of an AI hellland right now, but I digress. It's such a simple concept, but honestly, it helped a ton. I've been doing this for years, like way before I even decided to do this challenge. Someone on YouTube actually recommended it, and it has been such a help for me. And I'll tell you why. So typically when you come across a piece that you really like, you might like admire it, be like, wow, that is so pretty, and then just like go on with your life. But when you save it to a Pinterest board, you're able to see this like big snapshot of all the art that you admire, and you start to see a ton of similarities. So for my Pinterest board, I noticed that I love semi-realism, I love storytelling in pieces, I love simplified rendering, which is really surprising, and I love the way that a lot of people draw faces that I admire. It's actually kind of similar. So that's something that I noticed, and this Pinterest board not only helped me realize what I want my art to look like in the future, it also helped me find a bunch of artists that I admire. Finding 30 artists to study may seem like pretty simple. You're like, oh yeah, like there's so many artists online today, which is true. But I got today, I don't even know, like 10 or something, and I was like, shoot, like who do I study? Because obviously there's a ton of amazing artists, but there's also a lot of issues that I had. And so this Pinterest board was super helpful in just finding artists that were focused more on what I wanted to improve on, which is the second thing that I recommend you do if you want to do this challenge, and that is be honest with yourself. Like, what about your art do you not like, and what can you do to improve it? And sometimes, like, the honesty is hard, and obviously I can always be more honest with myself, but I made a mental list for myself before I did this challenge. I don't like how I draw head shapes, and that's actually still something I want to work on. This challenge did help me improve, but that's still something I think I need to work on. The second thing is I wanted to figure out how to draw boys a bit better, and I wanted to implement storytelling more into my artwork. So once I had this list of challenges, I had to be honest also about what my art looked like now. And sometimes that's hard to do for yourself. It's really hard to get family and friends' opinion because they're just so like loving and supportive. Like this, my friends and family are really supportive, and so they'll be like,
Cool, like it looks so good. I could never draw that.
which is so nice, and like I appreciate that. But it gets to a point where you're like, that's really nice, but something is wrong. So what does it tell me? And sometimes they just can't. Like, they just don't notice it. If you told me to watch someone play soccer or like gymnastics and was like, okay, Nicole, will you tell me what's wrong with what I did? I'd be like, I have no idea. You killed that. I could never do that. So sometimes it's nice to turn to the community. And one of my favorite places to go is Reddit. I had never used Reddit like a year and a half ago, but recently I was just like, something is wrong with my art and no one's telling me what it is. And so I went to there, and people are so helpful. People are also like really nice too. I was worried. I went on there, I put a piece up, and I was like, okay, this is gonna get torn apart, and I'm just gonna have to be okay with that. But people were actually really nice, and I looked at other people's posts as well, and they were really nice to other people as well. It didn't really matter your skill level. People are there to help you improve. And so they'll do like a little compliment. They're like, oh, it's so pretty. I love the colors. And then they'll be like, oh, but like, what's going on with the nose? And this actually happened. It wasn't for this challenge. It was a while ago. I decided I wanted to see what was wrong with my art. So I posted it there and, you know, put on my bravest face. And someone did a comment and it was very funny. Like, some people might take offense to it. I thought it was so funny. And I'm like, good point. They saw my art and they're like, oh, it's so pretty. The eyes are too big though. Like, they look like they're going to fall off the face. And I'm like, oh. I do see that, actually. So going to Reddit is really important, or, you know, any art community, YouTube. I had a lot of people in my comments for this challenge tell me what I could improve on. And sometimes it can be hard to take critique, but also it's like so beneficial. And everyone on YouTube was so nice. Like, seriously, thank you to everyone who stuck around for the challenge and like kept coming back to watch me and like subscribe. It blew me away. I had some rough days in that challenge. That Little Women drawing I did of Lori, that was such a rough day. I was literally like,
This is hideous.
and it's one of my best performing videos for that challenge. So super happy about that. But this actually plays into the third thing that I think is really important if you want to do this challenge, and that is discipline over motivation. It can be really encouraging, right, to see improvement. You're like, oh my gosh, like I'm getting better. And so then you start drawing, and it's really fun. But sometimes life just gets so busy. I was almost done with college, but like not yet. I still had
Had finals, I still had like closing banquets for stuff I was a part of. I still had a few extracurricular responsibilities that I had to do.
And so doing this challenge every day, I was like so frustrated sometimes. And honestly, the discipline is what got me through it. And I'm really proud of myself for basically doing it. I did miss 2 days, guys. There's a spoiler for you if you followed along. 2 days before my graduation, I did take like a 2-day break and then I finished it. Sue me. But the discipline to even get to 28 and then finish the challenge, I'm proud of. And sometimes like life gets crazy, but you just have to have your priorities. And so having someone as like an accountability partner, mine was YouTube. I knew that people were watching, which was really exciting, but also I was like, okay, I have to post this drawing. And it made me post some drawings that honestly I was not proud of, but I'm still glad I posted them. I'll talk a little bit about that at the end of the video, but sharing stuff like that is important to me. We'll get to that later. Okay, but with all of that, those are like my 3 key things that helped me get through it. Now, what did I learn? I'm not going to go like day by day because I did document the whole challenge on YouTube Shorts. So if you want to see a little bit more day by day, you can go watch those videos. Or if you want like a really in-depth breakdown of day by day, you can comment down below and I can do one. But I thought this would be better as just like an overview of the challenge and just an overarching of what I learned, because breaking down each drawing individually I feel like would get a little repetitive and also very long for a video. But now let's talk about the key art lessons that I learned. If you don't have, you know, time to do a 30-day art challenge, or you just want to steal what I learned, go for it. These are the main things that I learned that I think you can apply to your drawings. Number 1, this is more of a study technique if you want to study an artist, but break down their art to like the bare bones. I'm talking their line art. I want you to trace the piece that you're studying. And before you get mad at me and you're like, whoa, this one, officer. No, I don't mean like trace it and then color and steal it. No. You're not going to be using their trace thing in your artwork. It's more like when pieces are rendered, you can't really tell like what the drawing looked like. So for example, to go to an extreme, go and trace a human face. Honestly, go trace a human face. You'll be like, oh, like the eyes are typically really small. The nose looks much bigger than is typically stylized. Like all of this stuff, when you trace a human face, it looks weird. Like maybe that's my opinion, but sometimes I see like the basis of a human face drawing and I'm like, ooh, an unstylized human face drawing. The eyes look really small, the nose looks big, the mouth looks big, like the face looks wide. But once you render it, and the artist, you know, with all their knowledge, they add like shading and they give it like structure, you're like, wow, that's the prettiest girl I've ever seen. But when it's down to the bare bones, not so much. And so my reasoning for this is when you see a piece that you love, unless it's like incredibly heavily line arted, you can't really tell what the drawing looked like before the artist started, you know, using their knowledge to build it up and make it look beautiful. And that can be really hard when you're in the drawing phase of your process. One example I highlighted in one of my videos was Frostbite Studios, who is one of my favorite artists ever. Every piece she puts out, I'm in awe. And I traced one of her pieces just to study, didn't use it at all. I just traced it to see what it looks like bare bones. And the face was like longer than I thought. The shoulders were way smaller than I thought they would be. And that's because your eyes, I have no scientific backing for this, but I'm pretty sure your eyes like kind of play a trick on you. It just sees this like beautiful portrait and it doesn't really see how it all connects. So tracing it down getting it down to the bare bones just for learning. Don't use their art and claim it as your own. Just to learn can be so beneficial. It's what I highly recommend. And the tracing helps with the next part of what I learned, which is proportions. Proportions play a huge part in pieces that you draw, okay? Huge. And I'm going to tell you the proportions I found in the art I was studying that I now implement into my drawings. That was a lot of words. So one of the first things I realized is the length of the nose. Typically for the artist I like, if you trace an eye and you flip it to the side, the noses are typically one eye length or like barely longer. So that's something I use because I used to have a bad habit of really stretching out the nose or making it too small. Now, when you measure out the eye, once you've traced the piece to see what it looks like, measure out the eye, turn it, boop, there you go. It's typically a nose length long. Maybe people knew that. I didn't really know that, so that was a really big revelation for me. Also, let me clarify, I did already know basic proportions. So like there's an eye width between your eyes. Your face is split up into even thirds more or less. That's like the basic of it all. So I use some basic proportions, but I'm talking like stylized proportions. Like what are these artists doing that makes their pieces look so beautiful? Another stylized proportions is that basically all the artists that I love, they do shrink the forehead. Not like crazy amount where it's like, does that girl even have a brain? Like, what is that head doing? But they do shrink it a little. And interestingly enough, for girl drawings, most artists I follow, when they draw a girl, they shrink the chin a little. So it's a little shorter than the nose length, but a little longer than the forehead. But for boy drawings, they do shrink the forehead a little, but they keep the chin length and the nose length very similar. That's something I realized. It does make the boy characters look more manly and the girl characters look more cutesy, and I liked it a lot. A few things I learned for the rendering of the pieces: a lot of artists have incredibly smooth skin in their drawing, like such smooth skin. And the way that they do this, when you like really zoom in, they don't use that many colors. I have the habit, and sometimes I love it, sometimes I hate it. I use a lot of brush strokes and a lot of colors in my pieces. But a lot of the artists I admire, it's very simplified but complex shading. So they don't use a lot of brush strokes or a ton of colors, but like they know where to put stuff. Through all this, I've learned that blending is really important. There's also like soft shadows and hard shadows. So some parts of your face, it'll be like almost a blended shadow where you can't really tell where the line is, and others there will be a harsh line and you're like, okay. Having that balance gives your face more structure than just like airbrushing the whole thing. Along with this though, and this could be just a personal preference, but this is what I learned, I found that I think it looks really good when artists have smooth colored skin or smooth shaded skin, that they add texture. So Sam Does Art does this a ton. He'll add like 3 lines, he'll add dots, things, all this stuff. There's other artists who will add some texture here and there, either with the brushes that they're using or something like that, and it looks really good. And so using that to break up the smoothness of a drawing gives it a lot more interest. Also, another thing I learned, and this is just again personal preference, but when they have smooth skin, sometimes they do add more texture to the hair. I'm getting ahead of myself, so let's go to shading principles. What did I learn? Shading principles, not the route of proportions. 1, when people shade hair in a stylized manner, artists that I like will do like swooped shading for the hair. And so shapes are super important in the hair and in the face, but especially in the hair. Almost every artist I studied breaks their hair apart into shapes, like just blocks of color. Because when you look far away, you're like, dang, that is so good. And when you zoom in, it still looks good, but you're like, that's literally just like a triangle in the hair, and it looks great. So they'll do shapes, and they'll also do like a little swoop. Another thing that you guys probably notice and probably already implement, I'm gonna try to implement more, is blush. A lot of artists really love their blush. They'll put it on their cheeks, they'll put it on the nose, and they'll put it on their the character's ears and on the shoulders, because I believe scientifically that's where like blood flow is. I'm not very big into science, I should study that more, but a lot of artists do it. It looks really good, so you could implement that into your piece as well. Sorry, I'm kind of hopping all over the place. This is one of my first full-length videos in a while, but another thing I realized is how important colors are to a piece. And I already knew this, okay? Like everyone knows colors, they're important, but I didn't realize how important until I started studying different artists. 1, saturation. I used to be apparently afraid of saturation. On Reddit, I had so many people tell me, just like a year ago, I think I've improved a little, but they used to tell me that they're like, oh, you should turn up that saturation, because someone asked me if I shade in black, and I was like, okay, maybe I pushed it a little too far. I don't know why I used to do very desaturated. I felt like it gave like a moodier feel, and so it's just what I gravitated towards. But with this challenge, I learned that saturation can bring a lot of life to the piece. I think really studying the colors of the artist that you like is important too, because sometimes they'll stay in like a color scheme Sam Does Arts is incredibly saturated. Frostbite Studios does typically for her personal work like a pale yellow or a tan. And so seeing what colors the artist you admire like is really fun when you can pull that into your own pieces, because then your art will look a little closer to how you want it to. Another thing about colors is adding variation. So I know for the skin and the shading, I talked about it being very smooth. That doesn't mean the color variation has to be smooth. One of my favorite things that I actually learned from YouTube, and I think Emelina, who's someone I studied, is to add like random patches of color in the skin. It just gives it a lot of life, okay? It doesn't even always have to make sense. Sometimes I'll zoom in, I'll pick a color, twirl the little color wheel to like purple or green, do a little thing so it's the same saturation. If you turned it black and white, it would look the same. But this little pop of color just gives it a lot of life. So that's something that I also think you could implement into your drawings. But even with all this and learning all that I have, I still think you should take on your own 30-day portrait challenge because you learn a lot. I'm gonna give you 2 key lessons that I learned though, because gotta have some other takeaways. I think I'm hopping around a lot in this video. The first thing that I learned is that even though drawing every day makes you better, that doesn't mean every drawing is going to be better than the last. This was something I had to come to terms with on the challenge. There were some days where I drew a piece and I was like, okay, where's my record deal? Like there's some pieces that I really liked and I was very proud of, and then the next day I drew a piece like the Lori piece that I still hate, that everyone was super nice about, but I don't like that piece. I drew that and I was like, oh my gosh, did I just like regress in my skill? So drawing every day, it does build your skill level, it does build your discipline, you learn a lot through it, but that doesn't mean every drawing you make is gonna be better than the last, and that's okay. You don't win every game in a sport. I don't know where I was going with that. Basically what I'm saying is like you can't win them all, but you're learning every time, okay? When you shoot a basket, even if it misses, like you learned something from it. When you draw a picture that doesn't look good, you still learned something from it, okay? You still tried something out of your comfort zone, which is the second thing that I learned, and that is the importance of experimenting with your artwork. If you look at a piece and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till my art looks like that, that's so pretty, and then you do nothing about it, it's not gonna look like that. At least not for like a while. And this isn't meant to be like,
Your art sucks.
because I'm sure it's beautiful. Like, let's be kind to ourselves. I say this and I like literally roasted my art yesterday, but I digress. Your art won't look any different if you don't strive to make it look different. So it's really important to experiment and learn from those around you. I have added more saturation to my pieces. I draw eyes a little differently. I measure out my nose a lot more efficiently. The way I draw hair has changed. All of this stuff in the 30 days. This is my improvement, right? This was day 1. This was day 30 minus 2 days because I graduated and I couldn't do it. So 28-day challenge, sue me. Day 1, day 30. There's an improvement. Is it like an incredible, like, oh my gosh, get this girl a comic book deal? No. But it's still, in my opinion, very impressive improvement for 30 days. And that's because I did very intentional studying. I realized what I didn't like about my art and I went out and I looked at other artists and I tried to fix it. And again, not every day is going to be perfect, but experimenting lets you have a little fun with your art. I think as a community, we're getting a little better at it, but we've grown kind of afraid of showing the failures of what we draw. I genuinely, as I said earlier in this video, I would not have posted some of those drawings that I did for this challenge if I didn't do it for YouTube and I knew people would be like, cool, like where's day 17? I wouldn't have done it because there were some pieces that I was like, people can't know I drew this, it's so ugly. But that's how drawing is, like not every piece is perfect, and I think it's good to share that. One of my favorite things is when an artist I admire shows me some of their failed sketches. I'm like, oh, you're human, like some of your drawings don't always turn out perfect, and that's great to see. And so that's actually what I want my next few videos to be, and I invite you to join along. I want to do like an improvement diary where I'm going to be improving on pieces of my artwork that still need it. So even with this 30-day challenge, it made me realize some other things I want to work on, like anatomy, characters talking. Like I recently completed a few episodes of Webtoon that I wasn't super happy with, but hey, we're learning. I still shared them. People talking, like making that look natural. I want to get better at lighting, coloring, rendering, stuff like that. I want to get better at it. And so for my next few videos, at least full-length ones, the YouTube shorts, I'll probably hop around a little, but maybe do some improvement ones, is I want to do improvement diaries. So I'm going to document myself learning part of art to get better. Probably not in the challenge aspect. I don't have time to do that again for a little, but some time of me focusing on anatomy or something like that and sharing it with you, the good, the bad, the ugly. So you guys can learn from me, we can learn together. It can just be this community of all of us improving to establish better drawings for ourselves and be able to accomplish the goals that we want to. But yeah, I completed a 30-day, give or take, portrait challenge, and I'm super proud of myself. If you want to check out the videos, I'll link the playlist, but you can learn a lot in 30 days if you put your mind to it. And hey, at the end of the day, the fact that you're even trying is super impressive. So very proud of you. Thank you again for following along. And I gained so many subscribers from that challenge. I was literally blown away. I was like I reached 2,000, sent that to my family. By the end of the challenge, I was at 3,000. I was like, guys, got me blushing. But seriously, thank you so much. Make sure to like and subscribe if you like this video. I'm going to try to make some more full-length videos, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!